Are we good to go? Can we please be advised in terms of recording? Okay, thank you. They said we are good to go. I'm taking an advantage that you know my face so that I don't interrupt the sign languaging. Good evening, fellow comrades on the call. My name is Sheila Mbele. I'm the first deputy chair of the C20 South Africa. I would like to take this opportunity to welcome you, all comrades on this webinar, and also I will be introducing the esteemed members of the South African Disability Engagement Group. You are all warmly welcome. I'm excited to be part of you this evening. This is a space where we are all inclusive and we'll be looking at the insightful. And this webinar will focus on the integration of disability perspectives across all C20 working groups. The D20 policy inputs emphasizes the mainstreaming of disability inclusion throughout all thematic areas from health, education, gender equality, digital economies, or again, without leaving the climate, sustainability, employment, and poverty alleviation. Comrade, this session will unpack how accessibility, representation, and equity for persons with disability must be embedded in every policy recommendation under the C20 framework to ensure that global commitments are truly inclusive and leave no one behind. Please allow me to share the objectives of this webinar. One is to present the D20 policy input and highlight their integration across all C20 working groups. Number two is to promote cross-sectoral dialogue on inclusion, policy design, and implementation. Three is to identify key opportunities for strengthening disability inclusive development within the G20 agenda. Four is to build consensus and collaboration among civil society, policymakers, and disability rights advocates. Ladies and gentlemen and comrades, please allow me to introduce the facilitators and the owners of this space that I'm holding. It's not my space. I was just requested just to be with you. May I, as I would be introducing, I'm not sure whether we are able to see the faces as I'll be introducing. We have three esteemed guests, not a guest actually, the owners of this space and the greater team that is involved with this work. May I introduce Dr. Nzo Zugiswa? Can we please, comrades, see your face and say hi to us? Dr. Nzo Zugiswa. She is our lead facilitator for this webinar. And we are so excited, Doctor, to see you if you're on the call. She's not alone. She's also with other two comrades, very esteemed comrades. We have comrades Bongiwe Malope Matsani. Comrade Bongiwe, can we see you? If you are on the call, thank you so much. And we also have co-facilitator, Comrade Lubaba Lombeki. Can we please see that you are here? I'm so delighted, comrades, that you have made these days a very, I would not even, I never thought that this day will come in our lives where we'll see D20 presenting itself and managing its own thing, but also ensuring that you're vigorously fighting for this space. We are here with you and supporting you all the way until we ensure that your policy brief is going to be put on the table and your voices. Without further ado, if Doctor is ready, can I hand it over to you, Dr. Nzo, so that you take over and I keep shush. And this is your space, it's not mine. But thank you for providing me this opportunity to be with you. Over to you, Dr. Nzo. If not, I will hand over to the co-facilitators, Lubabalo. Can I hand it over to you and manage your space? Thank you so much for allowing me to introduce you to this great space that we are holding tonight and this webinar, the first of its kind. Over to you, comrades. Thank you so much. Comrade Lubabalo.
Thank you so much, Sheila. But before I can proceed, let me check with my lead facilitator, Bongi. Are you good? Can I proceed? I just need a permission from you so that I can proceed. All right.
Good evening, members. You can proceed.
All right. Thank you so much, colleagues. I'll just take a second. There is a slide that I want to quickly share with you. It's going to take like a second. Yes, I'm there. All right, my name is Lubaba Lombegi, as introduced by Sheila. I am part of the D20 South Africa Steering Committee. I'm a Black African male using crutches and leg prostheses, and I've also always having a shaved hair. So for the South African languages, township languages, I'm always having a chisco. Colleagues, mine on this item that I've been given by the leadership is just to take you through what has happened in the process of the Disability 20 initiative in South Africa. But before I can take you through that, I need to acknowledge that the Disability 20 initiative is a build on the momentum that has been initiated in Brazil, namely by organizations of persons with disabilities, led by an organization called Institute Joe Clemente, under the Brazil presidency of the G20. In November last year, the organizations of persons with disabilities held a Disability 20 conference for the very first time, where we were invited with the understanding that in the next year, which is 2025, the host of the G20 will be in South Africa. So the organizations in Brazil invited us so that they can officially hand on the baton and also encourage us to take the D20 initiative to another level. So for background, this is where the work of the D20 is coming from, initiated in Brazil, and also a Disability 20 conference was held where we were present. Namely, two organizations were represented, namely the National Council of and for Persons with Disabilities and Disabled People South Africa. But it is also important for us to understand why Disability 20. So our mission is to embed disability inclusion within the core of the D20 25 South Africa presidency. So we want everything within the D20 processes, programs and structures to be reflective of the inclusion of persons with disabilities as one of the main principles of the G20. So from the onset, we have strategically aligned ourselves with the C20 Engagement Group. It's very important to note, and our position was that C20, as much as we are a sector on our own as a disability sector, but we also remain as a civil society. We are part of civil society. And the importance of C20 is that the C20 is a already recognized engagement group within the G20 structures. So from the beginning, we've been able to establish workstream engagements, which we have facilitated as NCPD and DPSA. And I think I want to also clarify that this process has not been a NCPD or a DPSA process, but it has been in collaboration with various list of organizations of persons with disabilities in South Africa. Ours was just to initiate the process in South Africa, as well as set up structures and processes so that we can enable the program to happen in the period of the G20 in South Africa. So in terms of participation, we have ensured that the process has been a people's process. By people's process, we have made sure that no one within the disability sector has been left behind. Persons with disabilities, organizations of persons with disabilities have participated and have fully participated from within this process of the Disability 20. We have been running from April workstream engagement sessions. Every month we have held preparation sessions. Each workstream, we have 12 work streams, which are mirrored from the G20 and the C20 working groups. Each work streams had a preparation session every month, and we have had engagements with a large group of people in each and every thematic area. So you can imagine engagement. So we're talking about engagements of 12 working groups, each and engagement groups each and every month. So our mission has been to capture the voices and the priorities and the experiences of persons with disabilities through these engagements, and then feed to the our recommendations to the C20 policy packs. Ultimately, we want our voices to be reflected in the D20 outcomes in the period of the G20 process in South Africa. Our engagements have been very diverse, including persons with disabilities, academics, researchers, organizations of persons with disabilities, and policymakers. Ultimately, we are heading to the D20 conference in November. You can save the date, which is from the 15th to the 17th of November. In terms of the level of participation, we have not only confined the process to be a South African only process. We have about 18 countries in Africa and outside Africa, including Africa, including South Africa, who have been participating in the Disability 20 process. And we have over 600 registered participants in the various 12 work streams. So this has been a people's process. I won't go to the numbers of the people that have been participating, But the people that I want to emphasize that this has been, the Disability 20 has been a people's process. And people have been participating from all walks of life. And also, these are people with various types of impairments. You can think of people from rural areas, you can think of people from other countries in Africa, township, and everywhere. They have participated impressively in the Disability 20 process. So hence I'm saying our process of Disability 20 has been a people's process. Where we are heading to is the conference, the Disability 20 South Africa conference, which will be held on the 15th to the 17th of November. Program Chair, let me not say further, but I would want to hand over to my colleagues from the African Disability Forum and the International Disability Alliance to maybe narrate what this process has meant and what it means in the context of Africa as well as globally. Thank you, Program Chair.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Luba. I hope I'm audible now, members. Thank you for that explanation, Luba. It gives a context that everyone who has not been part of the processes who are joining us today, it makes it easy to understand because the journey has been long since we started these processes up until we are here today. So this is very exciting in the disability sector because we are doing this as a disability organization, various disability organizations that we came together. I don't know if the representative from ADF is available, that they can also give us the context in terms of how, so that we can start with ADF and then we'll go to IDA as well.
Excuse me, Chair, can I just come in here? Our colleague from the ADF, Shuaib, is not able to join us tonight. So can we go straight over to Jose, representing the IDA?
Thank you so much, Andrew. Jose, the platform is yours, Jose.
Dear colleagues and friends, first of all, it is with great pleasure that I'm addressing this very distinguished audience. And I would like to start by significantly acknowledge the important role played by the government of South Africa so far in this G20 journey. I think it's important to remember where we started this journey with the government of South Africa. It was very clear from the beginning that this year the G20 was going to be different for persons with disabilities and for the disability inclusion agenda. We felt from day one that the commitment of the government of South Africa in the presidency of G20, as well as the support of other members of this very important group, was intact, and the commitment to ensure that the inclusion of persons with disabilities was going to be guaranteed. It's also important to mention that the work around G20 was possible because countries like Italy, before, under the presidency of G7, did a fantastic job in securing the engagement of persons with disabilities and their representative organizations, and even more importantly, by the adoption of the G7 Italy Sanagnano Declaration that highlights the importance of OPD engagement, but also the importance of disability rights and disability inclusion around the world. I don't think it's less important to highlight that G20 as a whole and each and every member of this group represents a definitely important part in advancing the common agenda to promote the rights of persons with disabilities. Persons with disabilities particularly those living in G20 member countries, are experiencing significant discrimination. We, persons with disabilities, especially those in the global south and in the most remote areas of the world, continue facing big challenges around education, employment, social inclusion, health equity, and many other aspects of life. How do we change the reality of persons with disabilities? Is not only by political commitments, like what we have seen so far under the leadership of South Africa, but also how can we translate political commitment into real change for persons with disabilities? How do we materialize the political commitment expressed by many G20 members into programs and initiatives that really improve the life of persons with disabilities? While we acknowledge the journey so far, and once again, we reiterate the absolute clear commitment that we see from South Africa in the presidency of G20, we continue in the deep belief that the space for persons with disabilities and OPDs should be formalized in the G20. There is no possible disability inclusion if organizations of persons with disabilities are not properly recognized and equipped, both with the right institutional space and the resources necessary to engage on an equal basis with others in such important discussions. Clearly, we have in 2025 the greatest opportunity of G20 to transform all the fantastic dialogues held so far into something very concrete. And for us, the very concrete thing that we believe will make a significant change in the engagement of G20 and the disability inclusion agenda is by, first, remember that every disability inclusion action should have a balanced approach between
Sorry,
mainstreaming.
Excuse me, Jose.
Yes.
Just a minute. We can't see the sign language interpreter on the screen. Can you just try to sort that one, then you will continue?
If she can switch on her camera, I think it would assist.
Ella?
It's non-for interpreting. My camera is on.
We can't see you, Nonhlanhla.
Can you pin my screen? I think it's because it's not pinned.
I pin it. Okay. It's not too big, but it's there.
Yeah, you are visible, Nonhlanhla.
Could we perhaps unpin the previous interpreter? Because we see two on our screens, it might be why. That's good. Thank you. Thank you.
Jose, you may proceed.
Thank you very much, Madam Moderator. As I was saying, the most effective way to transform the political commitment shown so far into real progress for the important matter of disability inclusion within the context in G20 is by, in the view of the International Disability Alliance, to achieve the following objectives. First, the full recognition that inclusion is at the same time a mainstream topic, as well as an increasing need for disability inclusion specific interventions. Definitely, the International Disability Alliance promotes the twin track approach in the full recognition that the more we include persons with disabilities in different relevant agendas for the G20, the better results we will get. However, we know that in order to secure the full participation of persons with disabilities in any political agenda like this, specific efforts, investments, and commitment should be made. Second, we have seen so far a clear commitment by all G20 members to secure that the disability inclusion agenda remains a priority. The best way to solidify this clear commitment is to continue exploring how organizations of persons with disabilities that are the voices and the mechanisms through which the interests and demands of persons with disabilities in G20 countries can become a formalized space to the creation of what we understand is absolutely key, and that is a specific group on disability inclusion. Last but not least, we wish to once again reiterate the clear commitment of South Africa in the presidency of G20 to ensure that disability inclusion is not just a specific topic, but it's an cross-cutting perspective and issue for all the different agendas of the G20. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Jose, for your presentation. I think the Disability 20 platform has made sure that we include all persons with disabilities and we don't leave anyone behind. I'm hoping that post the G20, the disability organization and the sectors from various organizations, we are going to stick together so that we all see the inclusion of persons with disabilities in everything that we are doing as a sector. Can Dr. Erna and Dr. Siva, can you prepare yourself so that we can be able to unpack the Disability 20?
Thank you, Chair. I'm going to share my screen for Siva to present. But maybe just before we do that, so the presentation we're going to talk through tonight, just to link to what Luba also said in the beginning, is a representation from quite a few months of working with the leads and the co-leads of all the work streams, which now has come to this quite joyful moment of us being able to sort of explain and give back all of the inputs that's been made over a few months. So I really want to acknowledge the leads and the co-leads who have given their time voluntarily through the past few months, and also the research team that's been working behind the scenes. So with no further delay, I would like to introduce my colleague Siva. He is going to take us through the presentation. Thank you, Siva. Siva, are you ready to present?
Maybe we should give him some time. He's trying to unlock and mute.
Yeah, I think it might be accessibility hiccup. Let's just give him a minute.
Just to double check, Dr. Siva, your mic is muted. maybe you are speaking, but you don't realize that your mic is muted.
Luba, can you please check that he's maybe not muted from sort of from the back end? Because earlier when
I'll give him a quick call, Edna.
I did now, but
Okay.
I think because his mic was on earlier, that he might have been muted from. There we go.
There-
There we go.
Hello,
go.
can you hear me?
I see, but we
Wonderful.
can hear you.
Okay, thank you.
You. I am presenting.
Kevin. Okay. Good
I'm
evening,
present-
everyone. I hope you're all well, but perhaps terribly annoyed with me for keeping you away from your supper. The thunder is clapping, and I hope it doesn't disturb us. Well, I hope one thing I'm sure of, though, is that you will definitely take away something useful from this evening's program. The presentation is actually a collective effort, and I want to thank Erna for screen sharing on my behalf. I will begin by providing you with an outline of the presentation. Following a brief introduction, the presentation focuses on the 2025 G20 vision. We will then move into a discussion on additional pillars and recommendations. This will be followed by a snapshot of the impact of cross-sectoral issues. And lastly, brief concluding remarks. I'm sure we are all agreed that despite global progress and commitments, such as the UNCRPD, persons with disabilities, along with women and youth, remain systematically excluded from key sectors. The D20 therefore aligns strongly with the 2025 G20 vision, which is solidarity, equality, and sustainability, each of which will be explored in this presentation together with key pillars and recommendations. The D20 has also aligned itself strategically with the C20 Engagement Group. Informed primarily by the workstream engagements, the work of the D20 is grounded in the lived experiences and perspectives of persons with disabilities. It also has been guided by international and regional legal obligations. The D20 acknowledges that the estimated 1.3 billion persons with disabilities globally, including millions in the global south, are disproportionately affected by poverty, unemployment, exclusion from education, systemic inequalities, and the climate crisis. Yet, they remain powerful agents of change and innovation. The D20 also reaffirms the UNCRPD, the African Disability Protocol, the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, and the two cornerstone principles, namely, nothing about us without us, and leaving no one behind. We move now to the 2025 G20 vision, namely solidarity, equality, and sustainability. And we will focus briefly on each one. Firstly, solidarity. Here we focus on poverty reduction, social protection, health and care protection. Solidarity requires strong safety nets, inclusive social protection, and recognition of caregivers. We therefore urge G20 members to undertake the following. In terms of poverty reduction, we are asking that they ensure procurement quotas for disability-owned enterprises, create mentorship and grant schemes for disabled entrepreneurs in agriculture and beyond, and integrate inclusive agricultural training and finance models. We move then to social protection. Here, we are asking that they extend social security and health cover to informal workers, create accessible registration systems, strengthen labor inspectorates, and fund targeted vocational programs. Healthcare. Here we need to end institutionalization of persons with intellectual disabilities, guarantee supported decision-making, integrate mental health into primary health care, subsidize assistive technologies, I'll be glad for that, and expand rehabilitation services within universal health coverage. And the last in this category, care systems, recognize and support the work of caregivers, particularly women, and this will be done through social grants, subsidies, and respite services. And because caregivers also need a holiday, they also need to have some time off, and so we need to have replacements. We're now dealing with the second arm of the vision, which is equality. And we know that equality demands dismantling barriers to education, employment, digital economies, political representation, gender equity, and innovation. In light of this, we urge G20 members to undertake the following. In terms of inclusive education, enact laws prohibiting the exclusion of children with disabilities. Revise Education White Paper 6 and its implementation strategy to transition from the full service school model to one in which all ordinary schools are adequately resourced and supported to become inclusive centers of learning. Otherwise, it's not inclusive. Ensure that inclusive pedagogy is a mandatory component in teacher training. Integrate AI-powered tools in classrooms to enhance accessibilities. And here we have examples such as AI-driven real-time captioning, text-to-speech, speech-to-text, sign language recognition, and personalized adaptive learning platforms. Obviously, there are others as well. We need to establish a dedicated national inclusive education fund specifically to finance teacher training, accessible infrastructure upgrades, and the provision of assistive technologies and specialized resources. And establish oversight bodies led by organizations of persons with disabilities, which will be referred to as OPDs. In terms of employment, we need to fast-track disability rights legislation, revise labor codes to enforce reasonable accommodation, create a dedicated youth empowerment fund, embed quotas for disabled workers in public schemes, and prioritize disability-owned enterprises in procurement. In terms of digital inclusion, remove import duties on assistive technologies, and that will be excellent because of the high cost. Establish national digital inclusion indices, mandate accessibility audits, fund digital literacy and innovation hubs, and embed disability leadership in digital innovation. We need to also redesign electoral systems to guarantee representation, establish quotas for candidates with disabilities, support the participation of OPDs, and mandate inclusive recruitment in civil service. In terms of women and gender equity, we need to embed disability in gender equality frameworks, close wage gaps, address gender-based violence against women with disabilities, and build leadership pathways. Trade, science, and innovation, we need to embed disability in trade agreements and value chains, fund disability-led research, apply universal design principles in innovation, and ensure OPDs are part of research governance structures rather. Now we've completed the two arms of the vision. We're now moving to the third one, which is sustainability. And this encompasses trade and sustainable development, climate, energy, disaster risk reduction, tourism, and resilient communities. Sustainability demands that disability inclusion be mainstreamed in climate adaptation, resilient infrastructure, and sustainable industries. We therefore urge G20 members to implement the following. In terms of tourism, mandate accessibility audits for all infrastructure. Establish national fund for accessibility retrofits. Create tourism certification schemes. Set national standards for transport accessibility, and ensure cultural and heritage sites are accessible and co-created with OPDs. With agriculture and food systems, promote climate-smart, accessible farming, invest in inclusive technology hubs and renewable energy for agriculture, support carbon credit schemes for smallholder farms, and scale disability inclusive climate finance. Energy transition, guarantee accessibility in all energy infrastructure, and provide financing for resilience programs led by communities. Disaster risk reduction. Here we need to ensure accessible early warning systems and evacuation centers, collect disability disaggregated data, train emergency responders, and institutionalize OPD leadership in disaster risk reduction. Additional pillars and recommendations. We've mentioned inclusive education, employment, tourism, digital economies, and poverty and food security systems. Let's now briefly explore other pillars and recommendations. And we start with health and well-being. Health is foundational to dignity. We all know that. Participation also, and resilience, and must therefore be inclusive by design. We therefore urge G20 members to undertake the following. In terms of mental health, integrate mental health into universal health cover, ensuring community-based, rights-based care models. In terms of intellectual disabilities, replace institutional care with inclusive education, supported employment, and community living models. Rehabilitation and assistive technology, scale up assistive technology access, subsidize the cost of assistive technology, strengthen rehabilitation workforces, and establish innovation funds to drive affordable assistive technology solutions. Intersectionality in health. Ensure health policies address the specific needs of women, youth, and rural populations with disabilities. We move then to governance, representation, and justice. Here we need to true inclusion requires accountability, representation, and access to justice. And in light of this, we urge G20 members, firstly, to guarantee participation of persons with disabilities in parliaments, councils, and political parties, establish quotas, and finance inclusive electoral participation. In terms of public administration, mandate recruitment and retention of civil servants with disabilities, provide reasonable accommodation, and promote leadership roles. Access to justice. Train judiciary, police, and prosecutors on disability rights, and ensure accessible procedures. Expand legal aid, and establish independent complaints mechanisms. National Disability Coordination. Establish cross-departmental coordination bodies with budgetary power. Ensure OPDs lead monitoring and accountability, and integrate disability into national planning frameworks. I did indicate earlier that I will focus briefly on cross-sectoral issues. So, by way of a few examples, I will try to demonstrate how an emerging issue in one sector could potentially impact other sectors. However, given time constraints, I will only focus on 4 examples, namely, inconsistent training and lack of disability awareness, physical and infrastructure barriers, the digital divide and inaccessible technology, and exclusion from decision-making and policy development and implementation. Let's look at the first one, inconsistent training and lack of disability awareness. The problem is that across sectors, there's a significant lack of knowledge and consistent training on disability awareness and inclusion. So, how does this impact the various sectors? Let's look at a few examples. Inclusive pedagogy is not compulsory in pre-service teacher training, resulting in educators being underprepared and often overwhelmed and under-supported in classrooms. Attitudinal barriers persist, with some educators still believing that learners with disabilities should belong in special schools, and consequently reinforcing the systemic exclusion and a significant gap between policy intentions and realities. The lack of training, combined with large class sizes, makes it impossible to attend to diverse learning needs, placing the full responsibility for inclusion on the individual educator instead of transforming the broader system. With regard to tourism, high staff turnover and a lack of disability-specific training contribute to exclusion. In agriculture, extension services and training programs are rarely inclusive. In employment, employers often engage in tick box diversity hiring rather than meeting skills needs. Despite the exponential growth of digital economies, barriers experienced by persons with disabilities include inaccessible infrastructure, unaffordable assistive technology, weak enforcement of accessibility standards, and low digital literacy. Women with disabilities continue to experience negative comments and marginalization. Healthcare practitioners invariably do not respond adequately to the needs of persons with disabilities. That was the first one. We now move to the second cross-sectoral issues, which is physical and infrastructure barriers. The problem statement: physical environments and infrastructure across various sectors are not designed with universal accessibility in mind, creating significant barriers to participation. Let's look at the cross-sectoral impact of this. School infrastructure often fails to meet universal design standards, and learners with disabilities often begin accessing education far too late because schools lack basic infrastructure and assistive devices. Despite the South African Schools Act mandating the provision of accessible facilities, a crucial point is that there is currently no law that prohibits exclusion of children with disabilities from schools, reinforcing the need for system-wide reform and infrastructure upgrades. In terms of tourism, Even the most luxurious properties and transport systems still lack basic accessibility features, such as ramps and accessible entrances. In agriculture, basic tools and infrastructure are rarely designed for persons with disabilities. In employment, inaccessible workplaces and a lack of willingness to offer reasonable accommodation systematically lock qualified young people with disabilities out of the workforce. Persons with disabilities often experience tremendous difficulties in accessing healthcare services. The third cross-sectoral issue, the digital divide and inaccessible technology. And here, digital platforms, websites, and e-learning technologies across all sectors are often inaccessible, failing to comply with universal design standards. Let's look at the cross-sectoral impact of this. Learners with disabilities face digital barriers due to inaccessible e-learning platforms and a lack of early digital support. Inaccessible digital platforms and learning environments limit participation in increasingly technology-enabled classrooms. In the workplace, inaccessible recruitment systems, poorly designed AI, and the absence of disability representation in technology development create significant exclusion. Regarding tourism, digital booking barriers on sites such as booking.com exclude persons with disabilities from the very first point of engagement, impacting the digital economy, which means that if you can't get in, you can't progress further. In agriculture, the lack of sign language or accessible information excludes farmers from support systems. And the last cross-sectoral issue I've identified because of time constraints, exclusion from decision-making and policy development and implementation. The problem here? Persons with disabilities are consistently excluded from the very spaces where policies and plans are developed, leading to systemic invisibility and accountability, and a disconnect between rhetoric and practice. The cross-sectoral impact of this? Despite strong legal frameworks, such as the CRPD and the South Africa's White Paper 6, there is a policy practice gap where frameworks exist, but implementation remains very weak. A lack of disability disaggregated data makes learners and workers invisible in planning and accountability systems. Experts with disabilities in tourism and agriculture, for example, are often excluded from procurement opportunities and industry design processes. In conclusion, the D20 commits to working collaboratively with the G20 and its engagement groups, ensuring that these commitments translate into time-bound national action plans. It is envisaged that these plans will be monitored through disability disaggregated data dashboards overseen by multi-stakeholder bodies led by OPDs. The transition to an equitable, sustainable, and resilient society requires deliberate commitment to ensure that no one is left behind. This is not just a rights-based imperative, but also a significant economic and social opportunity. Investing in inclusive education and employment, for example, is a powerful engine for progress as it unlocks the full potential of all members of society. Now, in the brief presentation, we could only provide a snapshot. We have many recommendations that have been gleaned from the various workstream engagements, but we could not present them all. Also, there will always be questions, opinions, positions, etc. And there will always be someone who has the answer. and which reminds me of a short message that was sent out one day and which stated the following. Dear optimists and pessimists, while you were arguing about the level of the water in the glass and whether it's half full or half empty, I drank it. Regards, the opportunist. Thank you, and over to Anna to put some questions.
Thank you so much, Siva. And thank you also for, again, for all the work streams that contributed to this, the content of this presentation, yes, and for us to put this together. We opened the floor for a few questions. It's 7:05 already. But please, if there are any questions on the process, next step forward, or the content, please, we would love to hear from you. Can I also just check that we can see the sign language interpreters? I can't see her on my side before we continue.
Can you please, Ayanda linked Ella again. I think Ella is now interpreting.
Letitia, I think you were in the background. Can you maybe unpin Ontlantla and then just repin the other person? Thank you.
Erna, just in the chat room, there's quite a few questions about whether the presentations will be shared. If we could also maybe just provide clarity on that. Thanks.
Thanks, Lydia. So maybe I can take that question while we waiting for other questions to pop up. So we will share the presentation and the declarations and the documents as we complete them within the existing engagement groups. So I guess if you are not on that group, you're more than welcome to send an email to NCPD. We will put, and to DPSA, we'll put the email addresses in the chat, and we can forward that directly to you. I hope that answers that question. I see a hand, Zizwe.
Thank you so much for giving me the opportunity, and good day to everyone. Firstly, I want to congratulate the sector for this engagement and for sharing with us this information. It's really inspiring. And also just to reiterate that when the C20 was coming to South Africa and Africa, we were intentional to say, as part of our Apex leadership, let's have the disability sector as part of us. So congratulations to the whole team on that. And I think my next comment, because I don't really have question, my next comment will be, it is clear that we are moving with the principle of UHC in terms of leaving no one behind. And we don't really want that to be in paper, but want to realize that as we are going forward. And I'm excited when I'm hearing the sayings that are saying nothing about us without us, because it says clearly that whatever advocacy going forward, it will be informed by the people who knows best. But I think as we are doing that, I just want to caution, especially taken from the experience, just to share, the experience I have from my activist years back then when I was the member of the Treatment Action Campaign. We used to, all of us, as we're doing the advocacy, wearing the HIV positive t-shirt. And because we were aligned, because we began to understand that there are allies, there are families, there are comrades, there are colleagues that are with us in the struggle. And then we've learned to change the language as we were addressing whoever that was in the public. To say when we were speaking, we were saying we as people living with HIV, because we realize that even if you're infected or affected, you still live with HIV. So, and in that way, it means that we were not, it was not them and us. So it was a collective move as we were taking the struggle forward. So I just want to put that on the table. And also, I'm seeing a window that is open for us to learn and to be allowed to make mistakes, because for most of us, we will not be knowing what is the right language to use. I'm hoping this will bring us a way to learn, and so that we can be informed in terms of doing our advocacy alongside and as a collective. So in those words, I'm saying congratulations, and I'm seeing this as a beginning of really advocating for D20 to be an official engagement group for G20 going forward. So I'm just saying I'm standing on that, and congratulations for the future. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shizwe. I see two more hands, Mutlobeli and, oh, Shizwe, you've already, so Mutlobeli, over to you.
Oh, sorry. That was just a high five for me. I was not necessarily raising my hand. I was just agreeing and supporting the statement made by the previous speaker. Thank you.
Thank you. We take your high five in any case. Thank you so much. I see there's another hand, Clement. Over to you. Or is that
Good
also a
evening.
high five? Okay, yes, there we go. Thank you.
No, am I audible?
Yes, we can hear
am
you.
I?
Yes, we can
Oh,
hear
you
you.
can hear.
Yes. Clement, you can continue. You were on mute.
Oh, you can hear me. Oh,
There you
okay.
go. We can hear you. Yes.
Okay. Yes, I'm from DBT, as Disability, Blind and Deaf Association in Ekurhuleni. Me, I'm an environmental activist, and also I'm a disability ambassador. I attend the Presidential Climate Commission events and the DFFE events due to climate change, due to the NDC, and due to inclusion and the just transition. But for me, as the research I've done, there is more exclusion of people with disabilities, because in the government structures, there are no people representing persons with disabilities. And there is no, even if there is a Zoom meeting or in-person meeting, there are no sign language interpreters that are provided. And I always raise the point, and it's if maybe I'm politically or I'm against the people who are able. But I always raise the point that how the persons with disability going to engage in the most crucial issues that the country as South Africa, like climate change, is affecting all of us, how they are going to engage, and how are we including them, and how are we excluding the barriers, because unfortunately other people, they can't read, they can't see, but we have to come with the solution and technology to include them so that we can achieve the just transition, because now we are under the just energy transition where the new technologies and skills must be implemented even to persons with disabilities. My very, very request is that all the government and the private institution and sectors must consider and include all the disability issues and challenges. Thanks.
Thank you, Clement, for that very heartfelt comment and input. I would really like to invite you to our last engagement sessions that will happen in October. We will share those dates and links also, because I think it's important that you bring up this conversation within those engagement groups again. So thank you for that for that comment and input, Clement. Then I see 3 more hands. I just want to give us a heads up on time. It's now 16 minutes past 7. Our meeting will end at 7:30. So let's continue. I see Kolile. Your hand is up, Kolile.
Anna, there's also a comment from Sebenzeli Matsibula in the message in the chat, indicating she's unable to raise her hand for some reason. If she could also just be acknowledged. Thanks.
I see your hand. Thank you so much.
Good evening, everyone. I'm not sure. Can you hear me from my side?
Yes, you are audible. You can continue. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much for the opportunity. My name is Oli Lekamte. I am from Internet Solutions. We are a recruitment firm. We are based in Pretoria East. So one of the reasons why I decided to join this conference was that I saw one of the facilitators posted on their WhatsApp in the afternoon. So I decided to join because I'm an executive recruitment consultant. So from time to time, I usually get job opportunities for people living with disabilities. So I'm just here to network with you guys. I'm not sure if I'm allowed. I can just leave my email address, and then you can share your updated CV so that I can reach out to you if there's any job opportunities on my side. So we are also advocating for you guys as well, just to make sure that there's diversity in workplaces. So my client, I've got few clients that are only recruiting people living with disabilities. It's been a struggle as well from my side to get to fill this position. So I thought I should be part of this networking event.
Thank you so much. You are most welcome to add your email address in the chat. I'm sure people will reach out to you. Thank you so much. Can we then move to Sibenzile for you to give your input? Thank you so much. Over to you.
Thank you, Chair. I hope you can hear me.
Yes, you are audible.
Thank you very much. It's a real privilege to be part of this meeting. I'm a veteran, just to be civil. I don't want to use an ageist term of the movement. And it's just so inspiring to listen to the young voices come up and, relate to current matters as they stand within the disability sector. And I must say, I have you and the team and CPD, DPSA to thank for that. Just 2 quick questions. One is a comment, Chair. The first one is on terminology. And maybe it's me being a fossil, that I really, really worry about the continued use of inappropriate terms from ourselves. And I think at a point in time, we will just have to make a process through you entities involved to try and correct this. I'm aware that the media is probably the worst grouping that is perpetuating this, and there's processes to create it, unless as a sector we are happy to want to continue with the use of inappropriate language. Moving on, Chair, I just want to get clarity, and that's my question, on the involvement of government, knowing that the G20 process is part of a government initiative. At one of the last meetings that I attended, I think government was involved in trying to work on the disability agenda, and there were a number of countries that linked. Some supported the disability agenda and the program. Some were very, very against it, which I found very strange, but it is what it is. In government performs in whatever way it wants to perform and present itself. I'm aware that there are a couple of government representatives on this webinar. And so I would just like to have confirmation, because at that last engagement that I participated in, the Sherpas were still discussing. I think Sherpas are the people who manage the final program for the G20 process coming up in November. And there had not been an agreement on the inclusion of disability on the G20 agenda. So I would just like to get confirmation, noting the activism. I mean, everybody on this, there's like 71 people on this platform. People are very interested, people are passionate, people have been working hard. Lubabalo, Mema Lope, you know, Dr. I know them as my children. Newly graduated doctor in Japan, Zukinzo. They've been working exceptionally hard to get this process through. I just want to have confirmation that at a point in time, whether it's going to be a parallel discussion, but there's going to be some attention. And when I say attention, not just being stuck away at some hotel where people with disabilities will be meeting and talking to themselves as usual, but where there will be attention, government attention, to ensure that the issues that are raised there are taken forward. I just feel it would be good to allow people with disabilities to be allowed and have that platform. Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much for your contribution. I see there are more hands, but our time has run out. Putia, I also see your hand. I see a few other hands. Can I please hand over back to the chair for my Alex to finish off? I'm sure she can also maybe in just 30 seconds respond to this question. Thank you so much. Over to you, Chair.
Thank you so much, Erna. I think we can give you the space after Mam Sebenzile have made a statement to say, are we with the government? Puti, can you please come in?
Okay, thank you very much. Let me take this opportunity to appreciate this platform. We intended to come into this platform to listen and to hear the engagements and how far our disability sector have gone. But I think the question Ms. Sebenzile has posed is very important, because it also appraises all of us in terms of where we are. Indeed, colleagues, you will remember that, or maybe let me start by saying that G20 as a multilateral platform, has got its own protocols and has got its own processes in terms of how working groups have got to be established. With that, in due consideration by us as the government of South Africa chairing the current presidency of the G20, we looked at all the declarations that have gone in the 20 years of the G20, and we found that there has not been a concrete discussion in the G20 formally on disability inclusion. And it was for that reason that as South Africa, we then kickstarted the process following the due protocols of the G20 to establish towards, let me put it,
Chair, if she is now cut off, can I please ask that we hand over
oh, my
to...
apologies. My apologies. I don't know where
Uh,
I got missed. I think I was muted.
I'm really sorry, Puti, to interrupt you. Our time is seriously running out. Could I please invite everyone to send the questions to the email addresses that's been provided? Yes, so I'm so sorry to cut you short. Can I hand over to my Alex directly just to close for us? And yeah, please be sure that we will be in touch with engagement groups with proper responses to these questions. Thanks, my Alex.
Erna, I'm supposed to be handing over to Mayor Alex. Let me just
I
say
know.
my goodbyes. Thank you so
I'm
much, members, for joining us. Mayor Alex, you can take over because I'm no longer coming back. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Chair. Thank you. I see the debates are really going on, and it's exciting to see the excitement and the engagement going on. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, colleagues, depending on where you are joining us from in the world. This greeting is in recognition of many partners, allies, and colleagues from across the globe who have walked this journey with us and are part of this session here today. Your presence is very powerful reminder of the work that we've done since November last year and where we are today, this moment. My time has been cut off very short because of all the wonderful engagements that were going on. But as we close this pivotal policy brief, I want us to take a moment to truly appreciate the journey that has brought us here. Because this moment did not happen overnight, as Lubabalo has explained. It began in India in 2023, and it also went on to Brazil, where institutions of Clemente ensured that the seed was solidified and that D20 became a space where we can bring forth voices of persons with disabilities, a platform that clarity, agency, and potential of disability leadership in the global policy space became undeniable. So when we returned home from that policy, from the G20 conference in Brazil, we started this work and we've been working since November last year. We've intensified our work in April when we set up the work streams and we started doing the work and engaging in the work streams and consolidating our policy briefs. So this work has been wonderful work that has been done across work streams with persons with disabilities from various backgrounds and organizations where they share their expertise and their realities. We had our academia, our researchers who were part of this process. It's been a wonderful process, ensuring that the inclusive agenda that is strategic, intersectional, and solutions-driven. I want to acknowledge particularly the C20 Apex leadership for their foresight and inclusivity. Not only have they opened the space for the D20 to be fully embedded within the C20 processes, but they have also granted us, the disability sector, a second deputy chair position, a profound statement of recognition and commitment to shared leadership. I also want to make special mention of our dedicated research team Over the past months, they have worked tirelessly to bring together the insights of lived experiences and expertise from all our work streams, shaping them into powerful, coherent policy briefs that we are presenting to the C20 leadership. Their analytical and rigor have committed instrumental elevating our collective voice on the global stage. I also want to give special recognition to the technical team that has quietly, diligently, and consistently kept the D20 project alive. From coordination and documentation to communications and logistics, they have been the engine behind this movement. Without their commitment, we would not be able to stand here today to present the depth, breadth, and quality of the work that has been achieved. We also have accomplished together, we have accomplished a lot together since November and more intensely since April. And we have been all through the work that we've done in mainstreaming through all our thematic areas. I also want colleagues to acknowledge the presence of colleagues from the Department of Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities, as well as from the Office of the Premier in Gauteng, who have joined us this evening. Your presence is both valued and significant. It is our sincere hope that the conversations we have had here will be advanced at the upcoming G20 Social Summit, and that this process will culminate in the handover of the declarations to the President, the Minister of Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities, and the AU G20 lead. But tonight is also not just about reflection, it's about also looking ahead. We look forward to hosting a dedicated disability conference under the D20 banner, a space to deepen these policy conversations, strengthen alliances, and consolidate commitments ahead of the G20 summit leadership. Finally, colleagues, this is a call to government as well. The motion has been set in this engagement as well, and a call has been made to government as well to exercise responsible and inclusive leadership. The work has been done. The disability sector has gone to the grind. We've folded our arms, we've got down deep and done the work. The evidence is clear in the policy briefs that we have submitted. The voices have spoken. What is needed now is political will and decisive action to embed disability inclusion at the heart of governance, policy, and implementation, not as a charity, not as an afterthought, but as a fundamental pillar of sustainable development and justice. To everyone who has journeyed with us, to the D20 facilitation team, the workstream leads, co-leads, and members in general, persons with disabilities in their diversity, our allies across sectors and continents, and the C20 leadership, thank you. Thank you for your vision, your labor, your solidarity, and the grace with which you brought our voices together. Let us leave this space here tonight, not just inspired, but energized to continue pushing, building, and holding the line for a world where every policy, every decision made, every inclusion and space is accessible, inclusion and is accessible, justice and just and inclusive. Thank you, Chair. I had to rush through my closing to ensure that we're within time. Thank you so much for the opportunity, and forward we march. Thank you to an improved and solidified disability sector. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Alex. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for the wonderful evening and meeting. Until we meet again. Good night.
Good night.
Thank
Good
you.
night.
Thank you, team. Thank you, everyone behind the scenes. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Night.
Night, everyone.
Bye-bye, colleagues. Bye-bye.